Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is René Ebert. I'm the Managing Director of SIBB. And I would like to start our session today, which we are using the headline, Life in the New Realities for Trains in Berlin and in Ukraine. I'm making this little tiny opening speech to tell you a little bit about our association, but then I'm going to hand over to our moderator today. It's one of our speakers of one forum of the International Business Forum, Vincent, and in a couple of minutes, I'm handing over to you. And Vincent, like we discussed before, it's your job to introduce everybody on the agenda, but please let me highlight one person that we have in the agenda. This is Mr. Babichuk, Ivan Babichuk. He is the chairman of the supervisory board of Lviv IT Cluster. I'm very glad that you are able to join us, Mr. Babichuk, and your organization. You're going to introduce your organization, but you are, I would say, a kind of counterpart to us because you are kind of network in your city of Lviv in Ukraine, and we are led here in Berlin and the area around Berlin, the federal state of Brandenburg. Some words to us as association here in Berlin, Brandenburg. We have nearly 300 members in the association. We are doing a lot of services, offering a lot of services for them, and running a lot of projects also for the companies we have in the association, mainly funded projects by the state of Berlin or the state of Brandenburg, or also the federal state of Germany, and also European money is in some projects we are running as an association. And the main business that we are doing is offering a lot of events for our companies in the region, online sessions, offline sessions, and we are doing this with a so-called body structure. We have 12 various forums. I don't want to mention them all. You can check it out on our website, but at least our forums are groups and mirroring a little bit the topics that are always on the edge for our industry in the region and also in the whole country of Germany. By the way, we are going to open up a new forum in the beginning of the next year in January. It's going to be the new forum that we are launching. It's called Forum Energy Networks, Utilities and Resilience. And why we are doing this here today, we planned that for a long time to have a session with Ukrainian people out of Ukraine. And I know we have some of them inside the session here. This is very nice, especially that we got some messages just before the session over this day. And we really got messages. I have to say this, there's a few people wrote to us just before the webinar saying they might not be able to join because of the power outages due to the rocket attacks. This is the reality now most Europeans live in now. I think we will come to that in the session. But I never thought that I have to mention a thing like this. So again, it is a great honor to have Ukrainians live from Ukraine in this session. And I think Vincent is going to highlight that in his moderation as well. So I think from my side, this should be enough just for a short introduction of our association. And one thing I want also to mention, in this international project, like we call them, we help our companies to get contacts to other regions. And so there we are working always very close together with the Senate of Berlin. Special thanks to, if I'm not aware of that, if people from the Senate are all so inside the session. If so, thank you very much for the ongoing cooperation. So now it's time to hand over to you, Vincent. The stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah. Thanks very much, René. Excuse me. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see you all here. My name is Vince. As René mentioned, I'm a member of SIBB. I would say quite an active member of the SIBB. I take part mostly in the International Business Forum. Not only that, but I also have a lot of business and social connections to Ukraine going back many, many years. René and I had the idea to put on this webinar at the end of the summer, and we talked about it a little bit and decided it's a good idea. My activity in the Ukraine. I know the engineering industry in many, many different fields in Ukraine. I've been involved, as I said, I think going back to 2003. And at the moment, I have a lot to do on the business front with software development. So together with a Danish company with whom I'm very, very closely connected, we have maybe 170, 180 developers in the beautiful city of Lviv, which is where Ivan has joined us from, and he'll be giving us some good background on that. The motivation for doing the webinar was a little bit to look at I wanted to peel off what you're seeing in the news and everything else and look a little bit below the surface. What I mean by that is, if you can sort of throw your minds back to the 24th of February, I remember at 6:30 in the morning picking up my phone, and I saw what everybody saw, which was a shock. As you can imagine, for somebody with 150 employees right over there in Lviv, it threw everything into chaos. And I would imagine that none of us here, and probably very few people anywhere at that time, would have imagined what the situation would be today, which is quite remarkable, I have to say. Maybe some people thought that this would happen, maybe not. But there's a lot of reasons why that happened. You know, we're looking at the news and we're seeing something extraordinary. I think it's fair to say. And this talks a lot about resilience and strength of character and purpose. And I'm thinking it wouldn't be interesting to peel away I don't want to talk particularly about the military side of this and what's happening on the battlefront. What I want to look at is what's been happening in the IT industry. We're regularly investigating this and collecting figures, and it is my estimation that, and not just mine, maybe Ivan can say a little bit more about this, that the entirety of the IT industry in Ukraine is probably at over 90% of the productivity it was on February the 24th. We as a company have more people now in Lviv on our books than we had before at this time last year, and we're recruiting. Not only that, but I'm in the last month, I signed 2 contracts with companies in the south of Germany. We have development centers not only in Lviv, we have in Warsaw, we have in Porto in Portugal, and I'm quite often hearing the wish that people want to employ or work with people in Ukraine for obvious reasons, which I think is a very laudable decision. It's great to see that happening. This again, it talks about the astonishing resilience of the Ukrainian people generally, and this is a massive success story. And I think in highlighting this and profiling it, I think it's really important that we don't forget one simple thing. If the IT industry in Ukraine suffers, then the IT industry across the rest of the world suffers as well. We need it simply economically. We need to have access to those amazing skill sets and talent on an ongoing basis. So that's a little bit about like how I came to this, or we got to this idea. I'm requested to make a request. If you could please switch off your microphones during the presentations, but do feel free to post questions in the chat if you have any during when they're happening. So I'm about finished with my part now. After me, we'll be able to welcome Ivan Babichuk from the IT cluster in Lviv. The SIBB is very, very interested as well in developing the cooperation in both directions to let's say profile, look for opportunities and exploit them for Berlin-based companies here looking towards Lviv, and also the other way. And that's something that will be an ongoing discussion going forward. Then we're lucky to have Mr. Bernd Volker, Volker, I think I pronounced your name incorrectly, who has a fascinating story to tell about what his company did very, very close after the start of the war. It's quite impressive. I won't say anything more about that. He'll tell you about that. And then we have Natalia Medvedenka and Andrei Kusi, who will tell you a little bit about their experience as, let's say, ambassadors of the famous IT industry in Ukraine, who are now busy in Berlin. So I think from my side, that's about it for the time being. And I would kindly ask Ivan to take the floor.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I hope you can hear me well and see the slide deck on your screen. Okay, so I'm Ivan Bobichuk. Vincent, thank you very much, and Rene for the introduction and warm words. I'm already finishing my second assignment as a supervisory board of Lviv IT Cluster. And I'll be speaking to you on behalf of this organization, but also I'm a VP of engineering at the US-based product company operating here in Lviv and a few other cities. So I'm also in day-to-day into operation issues. So if you have any question in that regard, I'll be happy to answer. So I'm going to introduce you to Lviv IT Cluster, and we'll describe a little bit what it's all about. And then we'll more dive into what the projects we are doing and what the projects have been started after we encountered 24th of February. So Lviv IT Cluster, that's industry association. As for now, we have already 250 companies who are members of Lviv IT Cluster. This presentation was made a little bit earlier, but we grew quite tremendously during the war period. Obviously, the COVID was the most prominent growth for our association, but the war also added quite substantial number of companies to our association. So we started in 2011 as started by 3 largest outsourcing companies based in Lviv. So I won't describe where Lviv is located. I hope all of you know now, as that's pretty much every other village in Ukraine because of all the news. But these 3 companies came together with the idea to unite, actually, to fix some issues they seen on infrastructure, on educational front. So education is quite high in Lviv, as we have 2 very old universities and 3 less, say, famous universities, but still all of these institutions are generating about between 7,000 and 8,000 students in STEM industries every year. So obviously that was the main inflow of resources to the IT companies those days, and they wanted to fix the issues they've seen there with educational programs, with English and other stuff. So they came together and launched a couple of projects, and they were very successful those days, and that attracted more and more companies. So Lviv IT Cluster at the beginning was focused only on Lviv. Then we expanded to Lviv region, and now we're speaking about western regions of Ukraine. And that expansion started actually after COVID hit us, as many companies started to hire remote employees. So even though the company is a Lviv company, they might have employees in other regions. So we wanted to bring value to all of those IT guys around the western side of Ukraine. So we have actually 3 focuses for our association. First is education, and the second and third are infrastructure and promotion. So on education, as I said, we started from some very technical problems we wanted to fix with educational programs those days, but then we started to dig into the problem more and more, and we've seen that there are plenty of opportunities and to expand education and to start generating more professionals to the industry. So as for now, we launched or relaunched 17 bachelor programs around different institutions from high-tech areas. So it's obviously computer science, robotics, IoT, cyber, project management, and so on. And we are still continuing to work on new programs that are more or less connected to IT industry, such as HR or UI, UX, and other specialties. So that's one area that's growing quite successfully. Other universities already out of Lviv or Western region already also interested in our products, and we are helping them to be more modern and mature. But after some time, after we started working with higher education, we realized that universities are great, but we should start earlier. So actually, we went to schools, and we are working with the kids in 10th, 11th grades who are selecting their future and where they're going to apply and in what industry to work. And actually, so this year, despite the war, we launched the school conference, which we planned to have it offline, but actually we had to do it online. It was still quite successful, so we had more than 3,000 kids attending for 2 days, and it seems like it's very good feedback. And so that's about education. Also, we are engaged with our Ministry of Digital Transformation as they are working for changes in the higher education for IT on a scale of whole country. So we are helping them with our expertise to create more modern IT-related educational programs. From promotion side, so we have a couple of initiatives. One is the research we are producing every year. We started from research only covering Lviv, then we expanded to Western region, and this year we launched research with the team of resilience, and we were exploring also how the demographic change of IT professionals in Ukraine after the war started. So obviously it's quite obvious, many people had to escape, specifically from eastern part of Ukraine, and we've seen outbound flow of about 50,000 IT professionals since beginning of the year. But now we are seeing the trend that people are returning home as soon as it's more or less safe environment in their cities and villages. So this research is available on our website. I encourage you to go and check it out. You might find some interesting data over there. So we actually, there are 7 regions that we covered this year in details, along with the general demographic situation of IT industries. So you also can see all those detailed information on the research itself. And the second, and probably the oldest initiatives of promotion set of projects we're running, that's IT Arena. So when we started the cluster, we've seen there were almost no IT-related high quality conferences in Eastern Europe. So we set a goal in front of us to create the largest IT tech conference in Eastern Europe. And next year it will be already 10th IT Arena conference. Before the COVID, it was all offline conference where we had up to 4,000 people for 3 days with speakers from the well-known world companies. During the COVID, we had the hybrid forum when we had some offline as well as mostly online presentations. And this year, we decided that still, despite of the war, we have to have the conference. We cannot stop that. And we rented the Lviv Opera Theater, and we had a 2 days conference in that theater. There were about 1,000 people there. Also, topics mostly focusing on defense and cyber and resilience. Some materials also available online on YouTube. You can check it out. IT Cluster is deeply caring about the professional communities that are helping our companies to grow and the IT professionals to grow. So we are facilitating, you can see here 5 communities, but they're also growing. So we are allowing them to have their regular gatherings, helping them with managing and PR and facilities, everything. So they don't need to worry about the primitive stuff. They need to worry about the content and knowledge they are sharing there. So it's quite successful project from our side. And we built the loyalty program for IT professionals. We started that in Lviv when members of our association can distribute the loyalty cards among their employees, and they're getting a nice discounts in partners networks. And now we're expanding with that loyalty program through many cities in central Ukraine and in south, like Odessa, Kyiv, Dnipro, and others. Now moving to infrastructure side of our projects. So we already had a couple of infrastructure projects completed. One we built, we call it IT house. However, it was more like PR project than infrastructure. We built the house for IT people and just for closed communities where they can share the expertise, live together, have professional gatherings. So we've seen that quite successful project. And people started to speaking about the IT association in Lviv that started to build houses. And then we decided to expand it. Actually, COVID and war now helps us with that situation. So people are moving from eastern side of Ukraine to western in seek of more safe environment, as much as it could be in these days. So we partnered with the landowners and we started to build a small village. It's 140 buildings like that you see here. Also an idea to have a gated, closed community of IT professionals who are people that think alike and can spend their life together in nice area on the outskirts of the city. And also the IT cluster initiated the development of large tech city office spaces and university labs and all surrounding infrastructure. That was the largest investment of Canada into Ukraine. So that project is still in development mode. However, the war situation is not helping with that, unfortunately. And also getting back to PR, this is probably not that much of PR, that we just wanted to share the expertise, experience, and life of IT professionals in very traditional medium. We are printing the nice magazine 4 times a year that is distributed along the business lounges, hotels, restaurants, so people can just see how the industry lives. And we have different topics for every issue of that magazine. And the last one actually was about the war situation. So there are tens of thousands of IT professionals now serving in army on different fronts, and we wanted to share their stories. So they are in there, and also the content is available on our website, site of Lviv IT Cluster. And now I'm moving to our victory project, as we call them. So when the 24th of February hit us, I'd not say we were completely prepared, but we were expecting that. So we spent months before helping smaller and medium-sized companies to build and polish their BCP plans, business continuity plans. So actually, many companies, they already knew what they have to do when the invasion starts. And to be honest, not everything worked out. But at least the operations side of the business was mentally prepared that it could happen and what they should do, and that helped very much us during the first 2 days. So the very first day, on the 24th, we started to building the facilities when people that were moving from eastern side of Ukraine to Lviv, or they were just have a stop in Lviv with the intention to move towards to Europe. They could just spend night or few nights, get some warm food and shower and warm bed. So we opened the shelters for more than 1,000 sleeping, actually 1,200 sleeping places, and they were operating for quite a while. So more than 10,000 people used those shelters to stay and get warm and sleep and get food. But after their need disappeared, so we were more focusing on more active projects that might help business to survive as well as our army to defend us. So we seen very high risk with connectivity blackouts. We were working closely with all the ISPs and mobile carriers to make sure we can help them. If we can help them somehow, then how actually to make a resilient connection in networks. But occasionally we met Elon Musk and we contacted him. He let us actually import the Starlinks on I think it was third week of war. So now the Lviv IT Cluster have some special I don't know how to call it, but special status with Starlink, so we can officially import the Starlinks to Ukraine as well as manage accounts and so on, because like officially Starlink is not operated in Ukraine. So up to now we imported more than I think 1,500 Starlinks that were distributed along the critical infrastructure like hospitals and schools and other places, and were delivered to companies. And all companies that are members of Lviv IT clusters, so they had a chance to get very early Starlinks in their hands and have a reserve internet channels if in case if any infrastructure blackout would happen. Hope, thanks God that didn't happen, but still we are well reserved now. Second project that we started, actually we call it Project Sky. That was more like fundraising project where companies, members of IT cluster, they donated funds and cluster helped to reconstruct and re-equip our anti-missile analytics and operation centers of Western Ukraine. That actually helped a lot, and we can see that when the war started, our system were able to intercept only probably 30–40% of missiles. Now it's more, almost 90% of missiles are intercepted. So we created analytics, operational centers, mobile operation groups. That was all facilitated by Lviv IT Cluster. And the second large project on defense and security side is Project Vision, where we helped our government to revamp their video surveillance network in Lviv and few near cities. So it's modern tech, modern cameras, and now we can be, I'd say, quite happy that no unneeded people will penetrate the city. It's very well guarded now. That's actually about the Vision project. And the very last project that we launched is the mental health center that was created with help of companies from Lviv IT Cluster and with the facilitation of Lviv IT Cluster. We see that might be a very large issue after the war, and even now, for people who had to flee their homes or families of Ukrainian soldiers. So anyone is welcome in that center and could get a good help in that area. And the very last slide I wanted to stay on a little bit more. It's a platform that's called Lviv Tech. Now I'll jump a little bit to the beginning. So we have about 250 companies in our association, and those companies are vary in size and technologies and services they provide. We have companies as small as 5 people and as large as EPAM with how many, 15,000 people. And we want to deliver value to all of those small, medium, and large companies. And one day we decided that we have to create some platform when small and medium-sized companies can be exposed to external markets in a way that they can promote themselves, their capacities and capabilities and experience. So anyone who is interested in search for a reliable partner in Lviv area, or now in Western Ukraine area, or Ukraine area altogether, so can get to that platform and search for a company they need to find. So our role is kind of a medium between these sites, and now it's completely launched. We have more than 70 companies that already use this platform. So I also encourage you to check it out, and you will have a ability to directly contact companies you might pre-select or want to speak to if you have any technological help need. I think that's pretty much it from my side, and we'll be happy to answer to your questions.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Ivan, for that nice comprehensive overview. I do have one written question here from a participant, and I will read it to you. With Ukraine getting nearer to the EU, are you preparing for transitional cooperation with other EU countries such as Poland, the Baltics, etc.? Since this candidate status has been discussed since June of this year.
That's a good question. So I think other industries, they might start thinking about that, but IT industry is well prepared and already deeply working with EU organizations. As many of Ukrainian companies, they have also entities in EU countries. Mm-hmm. So I'd say the industry itself is quite prepared.
Yeah, I can believe that. And maybe just quickly before we finish, if there's anything you've got to say about how the companies are coping with the infrastructural problems. I mean, I can talk about this, but I think it's better that you do this than me.
Yeah. So on the first part of the war, during the first, I'd say 3-4 months, most of the companies were worried about what might happen if there will be connectivity blackouts. But now it seems like it's quite impossible. Now we're getting like literally electricity blackouts, but IT business is very creative and resilient business. So I'd say that most of the offices now are well equipped with Starlinks, with batteries, with generators, and even our cluster facilitated the exchange of and cross connection between different companies, so they might share and offices among even previous competitors. So people help each other very much, and now we see that industry is working well. Our estimation that productivity of companies, even during the electricity blackouts, didn't drop less than 80%, and we can see that as a proof. So even European and American companies, they are expanding in Ukraine. So the whole IT industry in Ukraine since January has grown for almost 30%. 30, yes, during the war period. And that's a good proof of that. And personally, I know that companies like Philips, like Siemens, they are expanding their teams and outsourcing companies here in Lviv that are helping them with technological projects.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Many thanks again for that. I think it's a fascinating insight, and it's really good to hear not just the results, but all that's gone in behind all the thinking. And it's really impressive that under such circumstances you're still like producing in terms of output. It really hasn't changed to what it was last year. And indeed, as I said, I think that even there's possibly an uptick. Certainly we're seeing this in business, which is also very encouraging. I've been really impressed by the attitude and the approach, and also the priorities at the end of the day, which are demonstrated in decisions that are business critical amongst our clients. I think then if we finish with this part, then that's a good point. This what I was talking about, priorities and decisions, because next up is Mr. Volker, and he's going to tell you a story about how you proactively jump into a difficult situation and help. I won't say any more than that because he'll make a much better job of it. But please, Mr. Volker.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm honored to have the possibility to speak here today. Thank you for the invitation to the SIBB. My name is Ben Volker. I've worked in technology companies for more than 30 years now. And by the way, my presentation is run by Ed, who is also on this call here. And currently I act as a managing partner in the role of a group CEO of Just Relate. With SIBB, I am for more than 20 years now, almost from the beginning. So my expertise lies in the administration and the development of companies in the area of software technology, with a special focus on complex business software and cloud computing. I always work together with a team. We are approximately 150 people, and most of them in Berlin. For instance, with my dear colleague Eduard, we call him Ed, who is with us on the call and who is one of our software developers now. He will introduce himself later and tell his story. This may brings you to the question what the Just Relate group is actually doing. Just Relate develops content management software, customer relationship management software, and so-called configure price quote software. This software is used in digital experience platforms that meet the requirements of larger organizations such as universities, airports, the government, all kinds of industry. Some of our customers maybe are known. We're doing a lot with Siemens. We are working a lot with Lufthansa, ADAC, BNP Paribas, and many others. Basically, we help them to digitalize their marketing, sales, and services processes with help of our software. So our digital experience platform is serving mainly B2B businesses and a little bit the public sector. And this comes close to our story because the Just Relate is a Just Relate group, which consists of many entities. Two of them are located here in Berlin, and one entity is a subsidiary in Poland, the Just Relate Polska in Wrocław. And all of our teams are working cross-national, long before COVID. Our company language is English because we have colleagues from all over the world. And of course, our projects are distributed over these locations. So we are a remote working company, but not remote only. So we have offices and locations. And in fact, this was one of the points. In fact, before the war escalated this year, we had planned to set up a branch in Lviv also, but then it stopped for the known reason. And this is how the story started. It was around the 1st of March this year when you saw this dialogue in our internal Slack system, when, you know, the Russian invasion happened, and the Polish colleagues came up with the point that we should, help in some way. So there started discussion thread with many entries and many suggestions. And it turned out that we decided to help the refugees coming in. So we created something which is pretty similar to a trainee program, which was targeted to refugees from the Ukraine. In the beginning, we expected, and that turned out to be wrong, a lot of women with small children. So it was directed in this area, or was focused to women with children. But it showed up that it was mainly younger people coming in. So we offered a possibility to apply. We received far beyond 100 applications. We did a lot of interviews and assessments, mainly with help of our HR department. And then it came to the point that we have, let's say, 5 participants, and that we support them with temporary accommodation, of course. So we rented a larger building in Berlin, and we assigned them, not, here's written a NANA degree. It was, of course, it was a nano degree, so a small computer-based trainings provided by youth universities. We provided German language training to them. We provided mentoring to them on training on the job. So we assigned colleagues from Wrocław, from our Wrocław office and from the Berlin office to them to help them. We integrated them into the society. It's written here. Basically, it was integrating them in our parties, but it worked. Legal and bureaucratic advice, that was the main act. We underestimated this in advance, but we received help from a local Rotary club, and the Rotary Club brought in some lawyers that helped us to solve legal and bureaucratic issues here in Berlin. And we gave them general navigation aids if there was a question what to do with the cat or whatever kind of help. So it came out with 5 persons joining this, 5 participants. And yeah, this program was estimated for 6 months, and it worked out very well. We started, and now we come to an end with this program, and it was a big success. It was a really journey into the unknown for us. So we just started it, and now all of them does have either a job or place where they can continue their studies somewhere in Germany. So, and I brought one of them with me, and this is Ed, and it is, I think it's most authentic if Ed tells a story by himself. Please, Ed.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me well? I think. Hope that you hear me.
Very well.
Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah. So hello, my name is Eduard. I'm front-end developer from Ukraine. It's Crimea. Yeah. Currently, I'm intern from Just Relate Deutschland, like regular front-end developer. So nice to meet you and hello. So as we know, in 24th of February 2022, yeah, Russia started a full-scale invasion to our country. And next day, 25th of February, I remember it super clearly. Yeah, we, with my girlfriend, started to flee from our occupied, super scary territory from Simferopol to the Georgia, because it was only one way to flee. Yeah. In this case, Crimea was super unsafe for pro-Ukrainian residents, yeah, because the government's super hard, I don't know how to describe looks, and the pro-Ukrainian looking, yeah, in this case. So we're very worried about that. We can, I don't know, so it's hard to describe that Russians think about pro-Ukrainian residents. So yeah, we packed our minimal amount of things, maybe like 50 liters backpack and some bag, took our cats and fled from the home. Yeah, we spent around 3 days, I think, yeah, to the road to the Vladikavkaz. It's Caucasian territory of Russia. Yeah, we spent lots of time and lots of nervous in this road. So in Vladikavkaz, it's like bordered part with the Georgia. So it was a little bit stressful in the crossing of the border with the Ukrainian documents and the Russian side of the part of the border. Yeah, so it was super stressful and long, but we passed the border and went to Tbilisi. So in that time, we spent around 1 month already in Georgia, and I tried to find some job opportunities there because we don't have any plans. Yeah, it's just spontaneous solution that we need to go, that we need to flee because it's super scary. Yeah, and in processing of the job search, I randomly find opportunity to participate in the program that supports Ukrainian refugees. It's like developers, designers, tech specialists, and stuff like that from Ukraine. So I'm super found this offer. For me, it's super interesting, and I decided to give it a try. Why not? It's just fill the form and try it. So it was Germany company who provide this opportunity called Just Relate. So I filled out the form, and just a few days later, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 days, I don't remember clearly, but I got email from the company, and HR connected with me, like, let's go and talk about you and your journey, and just meet each other, and yeah, just provide some information about our situation, about story. Yeah. And later I received an email that was we was officially invited to participate in this program. We was super happy, and we don't like have any imagination that we going to Berlin right now. Yeah, okay, let's go. Let's try. So yeah, when we come into Berlin, yeah, it's company employees and the owner of the house and his wife, our super cool neighbor was super nice and warm to me and my girlfriend. Yeah, and we super appreciate it. Really, it was for us. It was super good. Yeah. So thank you, Bernd, and thank you the company, and yeah. During internship, I learned a lot of new things for myself, because a company works with interesting part of the development, and the company has some like products that developed only this company, and for me it's nice experience to learn this kind of the software and work can possibility to work with this. Yeah, I've got another degree. I took several technical courses that I chose with my mentor. It's also super experienced, nice person. Yep, and supports me all of my road. By day working in as front-end developer in company, I'm use default, like right now it's default like React, and like main technology with JavaScript. Sometimes it's like TypeScript. So yeah, sometimes it's like native JavaScript. So we like depend on the task, and yeah. So, and I'm also work closely with a company products like named like Scrivita. It's super flex React based CMS. You need to try it. It's interesting. It's super cool. Yeah. And currently I'm in the process of working. I'm working with several projects in marketing department and team, and contributing to Just Relate marketing documentation and team websites. Yeah, and I hope that I can possibility to work with the company in the future, because yeah, I really like it. It's nice company, good tech specialists, good people, good persons. So yeah, hope that I'm just hope. Yep. This is photos. Yep. This is our cat in the house. This is our neighbor with our Ukrainian flag. Yeah, and also our neighbors. It was super nice. This is the kind of the slides from the company that I made. It's very nice and comfortable to work there. Yeah, and I want to say thank you, big thanks. I'm grateful the company for the help, the place where we can live in safe. It's also super important for the job, for the opportunity to start our lives out over. Sorry. And yeah, it's main part to have, we have possibility to support our country and making donations and stuff like that. It's super important for me and my girlfriend and in general for Ukrainian people. So big thank you. Yeah, all of the help, for all of the help, and glory to Ukraine. Yeah, Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Now we are pretty open for any questions you may have. You may ask yourself, what is this nano degree? This nano degree is just a small piece of education. And the most important thing about it is that it is an e-learning class. So you can take it with you wherever you are. So that was very important for us in the beginning when it was completely unclear, like it is currently. It's still unclear where these participants of our program will move. So it could be that they move back to Ukraine. We really hope this. It could be that they move on to another country in Germany or elsewhere in Europe. But they can take this class with them because it does not really matter where they take this class. So they just open their laptop and they can enter the class. That was the reason why we assigned them to such a nano degree. Also, it is a very known certificate in our industry. So it does also have some value in the UK, in the US, or maybe in the Ukraine. So that was the reason why we took a nano degree as a class. Are there other questions? So then it's up to the SIBB again.
Yeah, I think I don't see any more questions in the chat, but it's the second time I've heard the story. I think it's really impressive, and also from my side, great to meet you, Edward. And I think you guys have just related something pretty special there, so thanks for that as well. Next up then on the agenda, I want to hand over now to Natalia, who's going to tell us a little bit about, hi Natalia, hi, nice to meet you, who's going to tell us a little bit about her experiences in Berlin. Please be our guest.
So, yeah. Yeah, sorry, one sec. So hi everybody. Добрый день, everybody. My name is Natalie. I'm 26 and I'm from Ukraine. I moved to Germany almost 9 months ago because of war. I was feeling lost and depressed. It was very hard, and I had no idea what I can do if I will decide to stay. What can I do here with my working experience, but without knowledge of German language? It was very hard. And so now I want to tell you a bit about my way and my experience here in Berlin as a refugee woman who comes here because of war. So it's how my way was looking like. My way from Kiev to Berlin starts in the middle of March, and it takes almost 3 days. Why Berlin? Honestly, I have no idea. It was really a spontaneous decision for me, probably because I planned before the war. I planned to come here just for a small trip. About success and setback, firstly, was really hard to understand what can I do and how can I do it. So to volunteers didn't help us to go through it and help us with all the process that was needed. The hardest and the longest was to fulfill all the documents and papers, and I was really lucky to meet an amazing people, amazing family, and
am I the only one who's lost it, or does it seem that the
and
connection?
then
Hello, Natalia.
yeah.
Yeah, you seem to be back. The connection, unfortunately, is not that good. We lost you for a minute or so there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so but now you hear me, yeah?
Yeah, it's back now. It's back now.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, I was started my registration process as a refugee in a job center, and then I realized that just sitting and waiting for something, it's not an option. And I was thinking, okay, what can I do? I have my master degree in international economy. I have working experience in logistics sphere, but I have no German language for that. And I also have very basic level in front-end development. So I was thinking like, okay, Berlin, it's IT capital, and as IT sphere do not need such high level of German language. I can at least try to go this way. So I started to looking for opportunities, such as IT courses, for example, to get an international certificate. And I found really a lot of possibilities, which was free and free, especially for refugees. Some of them was from Ukrainian companies, some from international. And I started one course. So from May till October, I was learning IT, and only in September, for example, I started my integrational course. So now I'm learning German language. And for example, when someone asked me on job fair that what is your level of German, I can say, at least now I can say that I'm learning it, and yeah, it's just a very beginning level, but I'm on my way. And successful, so my successful points here, it's IT and language courses, and not so successful, it's apartment and unfortunately job. I already had some job rejections. Sometimes it because of my German language, and sometimes it's because of lack of IT experience. But I'm still on my way. I'm still looking for. And for example, a few days ago, I had an interview with one company. It's very good position, and it looks like I'm one of potential candidates for this position, but it's not in Berlin. So now I have again more question how to close all this registration process here in Berlin, move to the other city, and start my new career life in another city. And to be honest, job center doesn't help me almost at all or in all the task, and but I also know few organizations that were made for by Ukrainian women who come here 8, 10, 15 years ago, and they're now here in Germany, so they can share their experience and give some advices about CV, about interview, about contract, which is a really important point because job searching, contract, and especially tax system, it's very different in Ukraine and here in Germany. So a little bit about learning process. There are a lot of boot camps, online courses, job fairs, integrational courses, a lot of organizations and events that can really help. And yeah, if you just start to search, you can find something for you. And also, I want to say that it's very important to ask job center about possibilities and training courses, because I know that it was only my story, which is not so with a happy end with co-working with job center, but I know other stories from different people who was really really good in this cooperation, because job center helped them in a lot of tasks, and it helped them now to find a job here. So I also have some recommendations. As for me, it's very important to start integration course and to learn a German language, because of course IT sphere, it's a very international sphere, but anyway, if you want to stay here in Germany, I think that it's very important to make this integration step in the German society. And even yeah, if you plan to come back to Ukraine after win, of course, it will be just better for you to be a better specialist for Ukraine, yeah, and make things better. And also, I want to say that it's very important. It's my own experience, and I understand that it's very important to make friends, make connections, not only Ukrainian, which is also important, but at the same time to speak more with locals or with people who already become locals and went through this process of integration and can help with all this stuff from inside. So as a conclusion, I want to say that there are really a lot of opportunities, and you just need to look for and keep learning, never give up, and be brave for Ukraine. So thank you for your attention, and thank you also for invitation. Yeah, I'm happy to be part of it. Yeah, and in case of any questions, you can send me a mail or add in LinkedIn.
Okay, thanks very much, Natalia, for that.
Thank you.
And especially your sentiments at the end. Exactly right. Keep going. I like the Winston Churchill quote. And find me afterwards, and I'll see if I can help you, introduce you to some way of let's say pushing things down the road again.
Mm-hmm.
You have a message here from Oksana at UFO Korea saying she'd happy to be to connect with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm open to connections.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to see this also from the other side, what's happening in Berlin, and I think it's not only Berlin. The sort of depth and the breadth of support has been quite astonishing. But of course, this is on the back of skill sets, knowledge, and expertise, and a willingness to get things done. So if I don't see any more questions specifically for Natalia in the chat, in which case I will move on then to our final contributor, that's Andriy Kusi. Andriy, there you are, yeah, I can see you. Living in Berlin as a Ukrainian startup team, but building the startup in Ukrainian even at these times. That's the introduction I have, so please.
Yeah, thank you. Can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yep, can see the screen and hear you very well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a big honor and pleasure for me to speak here and to meet all of you. So as was said, my name is Andriy Kusi. I'm one of the co-founders of Let's Data. So first of all, what Let's Data is, we are a digital solution for early warning and response coordination against communication threats. So the problem that we are seeing, and which we've seen much more since the start of the war, is that in a current modern world, the disinformation and information attacks are just getting much faster and more sophisticated, while the way the organizations, especially in the public sector, respond is still lagging behind. Here's an interesting statistics that if you have an information threat, the media threat or media attack against you, let's say someone is trying to discriminate your CEO, it will just take 6 hours on average for it to become viral. But on average, private organizations are responding within 21 hours, first response. Public sector, 48 plus. And half of the organization had suffered a crisis over the years in the media. So that's a problem we are seeing and problem we are trying to solve. So how are we solving that? We are monitoring the media and providing early warnings. We are using machine learning to analyze the clusters and analyze the trends and provide an early warning if we see a normal event coming on. And then you could pre-set up your response plan to different types of alerts. Let's say if you have an malign information campaign against your CEO, you could set up the plan who should be responding in which order and what's their instructions, therefore saving the time on the coordination. And finally, we are monitoring the way your response is doing against the threat and providing you insights. This way, we close the loop in the communication and help you to reduce the communication time and the first response time to under a few hours. Therefore, you could actually pre-bunk the media threats that are coming your way instead of debunking them later, and you could have your opinion being heard. So that's very fast about what we do. We are 2 founders on the team, me and my co-founder Ksenia. Ksenia is a famous disinformation analyst and a journalist in Ukraine. I'm coming from a technology background and even have some connections to Germany since I've been doing my fellowship at SAP some time ago. And also been working at Grammarly, which just established an office in Berlin. So when the war started, we both realized that we need to scale the company we are doing because we could make an impact in the information war and could cooperate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which, for example, we are right now doing. But when the war started, I was abroad and I was traveling abroad and I realized that we'll need a safe and stable location to grow our operations. And we just started looking into where that might be. And actually, as you can see, we both are in Berlin. So Berlin was an obvious choice. First, some of the reasons why we chose Berlin as a place to be after the war, and place to grow a company as a founders. We are looking at the European market, and that rules UK out, and you have just mainland Europe. Now, we are also English. Most of our operations are in English, and we are an international team. So for us, it was important to be in an expat and immigrant-friendly location. And Berlin is like ranking at the top of that list. But even more importantly, we are doing social impact, startup and entrepreneurship. And for us, it's very important that the location has a government support and a government guided support. And Berlin is a clear champion because you have the largest EU economy and you also have a very massive government support for international founders too. You have for early stage startups, you have programs like SIBB Deep Tech Accelerator or probably exists. Also, you have scholarships from the local universities. I personally received a scholarship from the SIBB Business School that allows me to do an analogous to the MBA. For more of a mature companies, there are Axel Springer, there are Techstars, there are ABB Ventures, which could invest in the different series. So after very fast analysis, I think a few days, me and Xenia, we just looked into all of that data and understood, okay, we are going to Berlin as a founders team. And actually it was a right decision, because since the start of the war, we were growing. At the start of the war, we were just like 4-5 people in the team. Now we are 13 people in the team. We have 9 people in Ukraine. It's mostly a tech team and an analytic team. In general, we have almost 120 stakeholders already interacting with our early stage product. We have 3 active engagements. We've cooperated with organizations like Internews, Chemonix, NATO on different aspects of our product. And right now we are still growing, but the realities are not, I mean, when you have part of the team in Ukraine, there is definitely the realities of war are making the impact. For example, when the war started, part of our team, 2 people were under occupation for a long time, and we had to support them, though they were definitely not able to work. And they were like cut off the internet and just waiting for the safe time to leave the occupation. And I think after 3 months only, they were able to leave the occupation. So how significant part of the team were not able to contribute. Then we actually, when we were finally rejoined as a whole team, we started exceeding our pre-war capacity and pre-war, because of all of that desire and all of that desire to make an impact. And then the shelling of the destruction of the civilian infrastructure and the electric infrastructure started. So now the reality is that you have 8 to 12 hours of electricity cuts. You have dozens of thousands of air raid alarms. In November only, was like average one lasts 1 hour, and if you have 2 or 3 of them during the day, you lost half of the day on just sitting in a bomb shelter. And also you have 13 million people displaced, meaning that everyone has someone, either they're being displaced or they have someone who they need to help because those people were displaced. And I mean, this doesn't match. We've been able to grow, but this realities, those doesn't match together, but it doesn't match on paper, but you need to understand how the civil society in Ukraine acts. Because on the second day after the first attacks on the electric infrastructure, what we started doing, we didn't panic. We just started buying generators and power stations. So first thing I've ordered was EcoFlow's power stations for everyone in the team, so we could work autonomously while there is no electricity. A few days after the first shellings, you can see in interactive maps where people who have electricity would notify others, okay, I have electricity, I have a few workplaces, please come and work here. And you could just book a place and come to the people with the generator and work there. So actually, just 2 or 3 weeks after this whole infrastructure disruption and this electricity disaster, we are all again able to reach almost pre-war productivity. I would say right now we are at 85% of the pre-war productivity, and we are able to continue working and growing our product. So it's just, on one hand, it's awful in which conditions people need to work. On the other hand, the civil society bond is so strong that people are finding very creative solutions. And for us as a company, as an early stage startup, those challenges, they were definitely difficult, especially financially. It's not easy for an early stage startup to buy generators and to buy power stations for the team. It's not easy to afford a few weeks of not working. But then if you put under those conditions and you have a resilient team, you actually start finding creative solutions. So we were able to cut the costs. We were able to find new engagements just because we had no chance. So I mean, this crisis situation is actually something that for us was a awakening call and something that made us to find a very creative solution and be more compatible, more competitive on the market. In just like few months the war is going, we've been able to create a solution that allows you to, that tracks the media in over 40 countries in different topics. So for example, we track Africa, Europe, North America, over 40 countries in the regions. We work with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other multiple stakeholders, delivering them results on media discourse around Ukraine. Those are created a few times a week, and they use them to plan their communications. Right now, we are working on the escalation part that I meant and that I mentioned, and we are creating a system in which you could plan the response to all the critical situations. Here we've been brainstorming on the use cases for the Berlin City Council, potentially around the energy disinformation, how the alerting and response might work. And we've been testing, monitoring some media in Berlin and seeing like some spikes and some abnormal behavior around the energy publications, and been testing our system to make sure that we, for example, can cover those cases. And here we can see some examples of the alerts. And finally, we've been tracking some of the responses and making sure that we can see if they're improving or not. So in general, I would say, summarizing, it was a very difficult time, but I think it was a very right decision for a founding team to be in Berlin, because there are lots of opportunities for the business. I think it's also was a right decision to keep hiring and keep growing a technical team in Ukraine, because right now we have a very resilient team, and those realities of the war, they are just, I mean, people are just concentrating on very important things. You do not have time to procrastinate. You just do the most essential work. And sometimes the productivity during the war exceeds the productivity before. And I think that's awful that we need to be in such a situation. But if some of the companies would come out of that stronger than they've been before. I really hope that's our case too. Thank you.
Wow. Thanks, Andrei. That was fascinating. I like the bit with the generators. That's a good story. I have a question in the chat, and that was, do you plan to grow your team in Ukraine?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. I think some of the, we plan to grow in Ukraine and not only in Ukraine. So we would be doing growing in Europe and in Ukraine, but definitely we are staying committed to Ukraine. And there are very strong technical hubs in Ukraine, so the technical team for sure. But for example, what comes to the sales and others, we will be having some backup options in Europe too. But primary focus is still Ukraine. Okay, great. Okay, if there's no more specific questions then to Andrei, I think then that concludes the presentations that we have. And we should now move over into a networking. We have 40 minutes of networking in some Zoom breakout rooms. Thanks again to everybody who made a presentation. That was not just informative, but I suppose you could also call it, to some extent, it's inspiring as well. So, great stuff. Let's Renee, maybe you can.
Yeah. I would like to ask a question in the whole audience. If this, yeah, we can do that, right? Do you hear me, Vincent? Yeah.
I think everybody can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I got a question to mainly the people with a Ukrainian background, but also the entrepreneurs from the German side, due to an experience I made 2 weeks ago. I've been with some of our companies in Poland, in Stettin, not so far away, 1.5 hours by car from Berlin. And I took part on a panel discussion. It's nothing to do actually with the war or Ukraine topics. But then one guy from the audience asked me directly in front of all a question, the following. We hear in Poland that there are coming a lot of Russians to Germany. also with IT skills. And have you been aware of that 1 out of 10 people is sent by the Russian government? He meant FSB, whatever. And to be honest, I didn't have a proper answer to that. My first question back was, how do you know this, that it's exactly 10%? But I didn't receive a proper answer to that. But to be honest, I was not able, as a representative of the IT association here in the Berlin region, to giving a proper answer. Are there any experiences with that, how to deal with that? And I know that there are already Russians came over from Russia, left the country, but how to deal with that? Do you have any suggestions or any experience, maybe the people running companies? How do you cope with that? There are maybe a various answer. One might be never hire a Russian again, but that can't be the true answer. Any thoughts about this in the audience?
Before somebody else jumps in, I'm prepared to give the place to somebody else, but it's also, there are many refugees from this situation, and a lot of them are Russian. I know personally a lot of people who've left the country and left it for specific reasons. So I don't know about, you know, the statistics. I don't even know where would you find a reliable statistic about that, whether they're sent by the government or not sent by the government. We have people in the SIBB. We went recently to Poland, and we went with there were a couple of Russians in our delegation, and they had let's say a very clear stance on the events, and they voted with their feet because they left their country as a result of this.
Someone raised a hand. Ingos.
Yeah, thanks. Well, actually, I've been following this issue for a long time, and I'm following the Polish media because I'm fluent in Polish as well. With the regard of looking at the next general elections in Poland next year, and the interventions the Russian system has done in other elections around the world, there's a very high there's a high rate of possibility that this actually Poland is actually some kind of transformative land for Russian spies. So I'd say I have no data on this, but the reports from Polish media, they are quite dramatic about this. There's lots of, I mean, the actually Warsaw government is doing a lot of things that shouldn't be done as well. So they're destabilizing democracy all the way. And I'd say the possibility is there, but I really can't confirm this with concrete data. I think they should, that's something that's been monitored by many organizations, but not really for the public at the time.
Okay. If you're interested, there's a book by Edward Lucas, who's a journalist at The Economist, who's written a lot of material around this. He's a Russia expert, and you can get a good picture about the methodology and so on. But I'm not sure that it helps us in deciding this particular question. Did we help you there, Rene?
Not entirely. No.
Not very much. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. Do we any more questions or points, or should we then jump out into these breakout rooms?
I would like to add before we go to the breakout rooms. I think our background techniques are going to do this then. Special thanks to thank you very much all that showed up here as speakers, but I would like to say a special thank to Ed and Natalia, because that was quite amazing, interesting for me personally to share those your experience, that you shared your experience coming to Berlin, and very very different one. You had been lucky to get those full caretaking coverage by Bernd. I know him also personally. I know how he can care about people, and I'm pretty sure that he forced his team to do this project very good. So, and you underlined that, and also thank you very much, Natalia, for sharing this. And please come back to us. And I'm really I'm afraid that you're going to leave the city, and we are going to lose you. That's not what we want here in Berlin. We want to keep people in the city, even especially if they are so encouraged like you are. Please feel free to contact us an association. I think you have the contact to one of our team members. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
I think we can help you with that. I'm pretty sure about this.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Vince, it's again.
Okay, then I guess that's it for this part of the meeting. And I don't know how this is going to work now, but we're going to magically reappear in small groups, and we can then network. Thanks again, everybody, and let's do some networking.
Thank you, Vincent, for the moderation. Great job. Thank you.
Thanks.